Welcome back. So in the last video, we went through how you can drag and drop some controls onto a form and also how to write some code. So you saw the design view and code view, and you saw buttons and labels, but you haven't seen panels yet. You've seen text boxes. There's some other controls like image boxes. So I'm just going to add image here, image control or picture box, called picture box, and list box. So I just want you to think of how rich your experience has been in terms of using applications. Whatever you've seen on an interface before, you can create for yourself. Why do we even need to create Windows applications? Because of special purpose applications. So many enterprises just need a desktop application that allows them to manage their businesses. They don't need it to be in the cloud, maybe for security reasons. Also maybe because they only have 1 or 2 terminals within the shop. And you can create something really small, maybe an inventory software. And these are good applications of Windows software. So an application also requires no database. It's standalone, like the calculator that I showed you. In such cases, you can create different types of special purpose calculators for maybe a mining industry or maybe a financial calculator, and you can distribute it to anyone that wants it, and they can install it locally on their Windows and they can have it. Windows has the largest share when it comes to operating systems also. So if you can create Windows application, you are rest assured you're going to find a lot of markets out there, depending on the solution you've created. So let's see more examples. I'm just going to show you some of these other controls and how you can program them in the back end. All right. So let me just add one more to this. Drop down, DD. All right. Then we'll look at other things. Okay. So I'm going to dive straight into Visual Studio. I'm going to stop this from running. So one thing I want to show you, the question that pops in your mind should be, what if I want 2 forms? So this form logs me in and I want to go to another page. So what if I want to do that? So to do that, let's say I put a button here, a command button, but I just delete this button and I replicate this one, all right? Then I change remember the drill, name to next page. That's the name of that button. And I change the text of it to next page. Again, the name has to be like a variable name. However, the text can have spaces in between. That's just the description of the page. And just because I don't want it to look like the other button, and I want to change the back color to something slightly different, but not too exotic, something like that. So now when I click next page, in my project, in Visual Studio, if I go to, there's another panel here, you can see it's called Solution Explorer. So your projects are always here, all right? A solution can have many more projects. When you create a Windows application, like we've done, it's a project. So you can create another Windows app in that project. So you have 2, 3 Windows app in the project. Why do you want to do that? Sometimes you want them to share classes in the back end or whatever it is. That's a topic for another day. However, here I've created one Windows app. As you can see, it has only one form. All right, this is this form. If I collapse the form, I can see code of the designer of the form. This code, I did not write it. The moment I drag and drop on that page, on that form, this code is automatically written. So when you see form1.designer.cs, don't mess with those code. It's automatically generated. And there's another page for resources. Also don't mess with that. So I'll collapse this one back. That's my form. And there are other pieces of code here that I did not write, so you can leave those ones out. So that's pretty much the structure of your project. And if I want another form, how do I put it in? So I go to my project here. There are 2 ways to do it. I can right-click my project and say add, and I can say new item, so that I can have access to all the items. So I get all this, a long list of items that I can add. Again, it takes sometimes years to understand all of these things. The best way is to get going with 1 or 2 things, then you understand more of the functionality as you go ahead. So here, if I want to add a new class, I can add it. What I'm interested in is a new Windows form, all right? And that should be fine. So it calls it form 2, all right? So I can name the forms. FRM is also the nomenclature for naming form. FRM, I can call it home page, for example. Home page.cs. Add. gets added. Again, as you can see, this is my first form, this is my second form now. This one is also, nothing is on this form, it's clear. Excuse me, at first. So if I want to like design this form and kind of put some nice stuff on it, let's say I want to put a UJ logo that says welcome to UJ. So I'm going to go to label first to put welcome to UJ as a message. I change the text property, welcome to UJ, the University of Johannesburg. All right, that's welcome to University of Johannesburg, but I want it to look big, so I'm going to go to size, make it 14, and I want it to be center, so I can put it like that. But because I want a UJ logo, so I'm going to go to another control called picture box, you see? Then I'm going to put my picture box here. That looks good. It calls it picture box 1. I can leave the name like that because on this form I only have one picture box, so that's fine. However, if I want to name it, I can call it pic UJ logo. Okay, that way I've named it well. And now I can pick an image that's going to be inside this picture box. So that's the image property. By all means, please look at all the properties so that you can see what properties are available to you. I go here, it's going to ask me, do I have resources on this machine, on this project before? No is the answer. So I have local resources on this laptop. So I'm going to go to import. At this stage, I assume you should have downloaded a UJ stuff somewhere. Let's see, UJ logo. There you go. So I have the UJ logo over there, and it's here. I'll say okay. As you can see, I cannot see the logo because it's not stretched to this dimension. So I'll go to the other property that called size mode, and the size is normal right now. I'll call it a stretch image. So when I say that, it stretches it. There's other ways you can present it. Auto size. You can go stretch image. You can go zoom image. Then you get it like a center. So I prefer stretch image because that way I can control the size of the image. All right. So I can just put another label here to say home page, and from label to label I may change the font size. So I'm going to go to font. I can collapse font properties. I can make this 35 just to make it look like that. Again, your sense of design comes into play here. All right, that looks cool. All right, but let me put a button back here that takes me back to login page. So let's say I call this button, I call it logout for whatever reason. All right, I just want to show you some piece of code with these examples. Log out. Don't forget we are on a different form. We are not on the first form. So I'll call it log out. All right. Again, I may want to increase the font, 14, and the fore color, back color. And because it's logging out, by default, you know it should be something that looks like reddish. And you can change the fore color to now be something like white if you're using burgundy in the back. Something like that. Again, play around, make sure the colors make sense, and yeah, so that's fine. The problem now is when I run this program that we were coming up with before, when I run that, wait for it. Okay, it's coming up. Good. When I run this program, you can see that I can click next page. Oh yeah, so it's giving me the same stuff it's giving me for this other button because I've not programmed this button and because I copied and pasted that button. So let's quickly fix that. So I'm going to go to this button and I'm going to double click it. And as you can see, it still goes to this same button. So I'm going to close this code view and I'm going to go to the property window of this button. And this tab here is property tab, all right? Properties. This tab here with the kind of speed sign is called events tab. So as you can see, the event of clicking this button right now is pointing to that method that we've already created from before. But I can remove it so that anytime I click this button, it can open another separate method for me. All right. So you can see I have next page _click. There's nothing in it now. However, the login button _click, that one is fine. I can collapse that one. So now I have a chance of writing a new piece of code for this part. So I can run it again to show you. Give it a second. All right, here you go. If I click this now, nothing is happening. Why is nothing happening? Because there's no code in that event already. For now, there's no code in it. So I want to show the other form. That's what I want to do. I want to say something like form homepage.show. Right. So to show a form, you have to create an instance of the form. So I say from homepage, I can call it F1 equals new FRM homepage. All right. Then I will now refer to F1, which is the object dot show. All right. So with these two lines of code, when I click this button, next page is going to show the other page. All right. So that's it. Easy stuff. I'm going to then go back to my, let's see, coming up. All right. So these are basic things you want to do. You want to be in a form. If you put something in, you want to say next page. You want the other page to appear. The other page has appeared, as you can see. All right. So if you say log out, also you want to open back the other page. So you have to manage concurrency. So right now, if I click the two forms, they're accessible. But you and I both know when you move to another page, you don't want the other page to be accessible. So there are ways to do that. You can show modal. So when you say dot show dialog, I think the command is show dialog. Yes. So it's going to freeze the background form and make sure that only the full form can be accessed. So here you go. If I say next, now this form is shown from 2. But if I click, give me a second. If I click the form 1, you see it's not accessible because I'm showing that as a dialog. Dialog boxes have to be attended to before you can continue with the operation of your development. So yeah, many other tricks, like you see, if the user decides to maximize the box, this whole place looks empty, so it doesn't look pretty anymore. So what you might want to do is make sure that the user cannot maximize a form. So quickly, I'm going to show you that also. This is the form. I'm going to go to properties, and I'm going to go to max button of the form. Max. Okay, now I'm on the event, as you can see. So I'm going to go to the properties. So properties should have a button called max box. Can you see? And it says true, so I'm going to make it false. The moment I do that, the maximize button will no longer be available. Okay, so I can run it. And so yes, so the maximize button, as you can see, is not available. So if I want to maximize, so I double click, the shape of the form is fixed. And that is very useful when you want to make sure your form cannot be maximized by a user for whatever reason, in case you want your app to look like this or like that or whatever you want. So next page pops up the next page, as you can see it's here. Also the same one, I've made this form also max box is false. You can also remove main box so that the app can only be closed. And when the user wants to close the app, you can go to the event of the app closing and write some piece of code for that. Login or logout is the last thing I would like to do to show you. In logout, I would like to close this form and show the previous form. So how do you do that? Let's see. So there are many ways to, this form is called from homepage. So from homepage, like I did the other time, I can just call it F equals new from homepage. So I create an instance of it, and F dot, you can close it, close, all right? That way it's deleted from the memory. The other things you can do, like F dot hide, you can hide it, meaning that you can show it later on. So if you have like controls on this form, like a grid view, or like a text box, or like a picture that already is there, you don't want to reload it, you can hide it. So, but in this case, what I want to do is close it. And that way it's offloaded from the memory. So let's see how our flow looks like. From this page, we want to go to that page, and from that page, we want to come back to this page. However, let's say we want to only go to that page when login is true. All right. So in that case, this button might not be so useful. So So what I'll do with this button, I won't delete it because there's some source code in this button. I'll just go to the property window and set the visibility property to false. So you can see visible is true, so I'm going to make it false. So when I run this app the next time, you will not have access to that button. So close, it's coming up. So you can see the button is not there, but it's actually there, just that the visibility property is false. So think of how you can use visibility in your application also. Sometimes your application may have two forms side by side. You make a whole panel visible. When the person says next, then you make the other part, this one invisible, that one visible. There are many design techniques you can come up with. Discuss with your tutors how you want to design your forms. If you struggle in the week, they're there to help you. So now, assuming I just want to put username and password, if it's login, so that's first I want to show the other forms. So how would I do that? I go back to this event of this button. Instead of showing just a message box, what I wanted to do now is to now move to next form. Now, because I know these two source code lines are good for moving to next form, it's best I just make them into a method. So I'll just say private, all right, void. I can say move to page, all right, page, move to page, and yep. So this method, these two lines, instead of repeating these lines every time, I put in a method called move to page, all right? Then when the login is successfully inside this method, I'll just say move to page, all right? And then those two lines are already there. So I'll display login successfully, the person clicks OK, then it moves to page. And I can also call move to page inside this one, move to page. All right, that works perfectly well. And let's see if there is one more or two more things I want to show you before I wrap up this one. Okay, so let's control the views. So when the person is here and they click login, what happens? Let's have a recap. We collect the username and password, we check it. If it's true, we move to page. If it's not, we tell them login error and we log out. When we say move to page, what actually happens in our move to page? We create a form, we show that one as a dialog. All right. So in this particular part of Unit 4, we've seen how you can move between page and a page, how you can disable the maximize button, how you can put a set of instructions into a method and use them to move between pages, and all of that. The things you might want to do when you are creating your own Windows applications, the moment you realize those things are not part of the things we've discussed, please discuss with your tutors and we can show you how you can do those things. In the meantime, we draw this to a close. We move on to other demonstrations that we have for this unit. So we're going to show you about, for clicking, you've seen that method. We're going to show you double clicking, text change, and I'm going to show you a couple of other tricks, and we'll work on the adder program and the factorial program so we can move forward. But there's so much to learn when it comes to these things. As you can see, it's not just a simple top to bottom Python program or something like that. There's so much to it. And then, yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Boom.